Ladies and gentlemen, we interrupt your regularly scheduled programming to bring you this special bulletin. Journalistic integrity, something extremely lacking in the mainstream, is not something that I would see permeate itself into the, I guess you could say, amateur journalist atmosphere. But apparently that's where we're going with this. I don't know if it's for rage bait, for clicks, for engagement, or whatnot. I've made my opinion on these things, and well, I'm going to make my opinion very well known on this one again, and I understand the ramifications of said opinion, but here we go. Back to good old fandom pulse. The articles that have been coming out lately, and the most recent one that has me just scratching my head because taking things either out of context or intentionally misrepresenting the statement. But we're going to start here. John F. Trent over here. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, and this is part of the whole controversy that was settled that probably didn't need to be settled if you used a little bit of your gray matter upstairs. Think for a moment. Graphic depictions of child sodomy not only depicts the graphic scenes of two individuals engaging in sodomy, which, you know what, if you have a problem with gay sex in your video game, just say that. I understand it. Don't tell everyone else that these things shouldn't be in the video games. That's where I have the problem with it. Let the developer make what they want, voice your opinion, and the market will decide. That's it. But when you start spouting off lines of, one of them is a teenager, to the point of saying that it is a fact that the game includes graphic scenes showing that. Now let's take a moment, dear viewers, ladies and gentlemen that have stuck around, well, this short period of time. Certain things depicting this little act right there in a video game is what you would call illegal. So does it make any sense? The idea that Hans was actually the age of the character he was based on. Does everybody remember that name? Based on. The character that Hans was based on, they think was born, what was it? 1388, which would make him about 15. The real life individual that Hans was based on. Let me say it again. Based on. Now, if you've played the game, if you know anything about the ramifications, the consequences of featuring CP in a video game, movie, or any sort of entertainment, well, they're pretty serious, pretty severe. I don't think Steam would be take too kindly to that either, to say the least. You would think it's pretty obvious, especially based on the voice actors and the character models, that perhaps maybe they aged them up to make sense and for it to be, well, more acceptable. Again, but if you don't like the gay stuff, that's fine with me. But oh my God, Kilted, it's woke, wokety, woke. Oh my goodness, they had the black man in there. And sure, Vavra came out 8 years ago saying there are no black people in Bohemia in the first game. Now, adding this man, this lovely, insufferable, from what I've read, twat, into the game in the second one. Why on earth is that not woke, in my opinion? Well, my understanding is that he's part of a traveling caravan. Did those things happen in Bohemia in the 1403? Does it make sense to the world? Does to me. Therefore, I'm not going to check it off as being, quote unquote, well, ideologically driven. Now, it could still be ideologically driven. You make that decision for yourself. Again, this is just my thoughts. But oh my goodness, this black man that they added to the game, he's insulting everyone around him. His talking points are that his culture is just so much better. I don't think you're supposed to like this guy. In fact, some of the comments that I've read is that he's an insufferable twat because he's supposed to be an insufferable twat. You're not supposed to like him. And of course, a foreigner is going to believe that their culture is 10 times, 100 times, 1,000 times better than wherever he is. I mean, look at the way he dresses. And again, I believe there's another character that supposedly died in real life in 1402, and yet they're in this game in 1403, alive and kicking. So using a little bit of our brain power and thinking things instead of responding to the emotional rage bait engagement farming of, well, certain journalists that I used to have a little bit more respect for. I've gone after John F. Trent for his ideas on censorship and their being good simply because of my personal beliefs, I have a problem with that. When you're being disingenuous, I have a problem with that. When you outright lie, I have a problem with that. Which brings us, or when you outright misrepresent a statement, which brings us to, what I hope, honestly, will be the last Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 article I talk about. Because I saw this headline and I went, oh, good Lord, what on earth is this actor talking about? John F. Trent writes over here, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 actor says, if you don't like wokeness in gaming, you're, quote, not necessarily into gaming. And I saw where the quotation marks were. And I wondered, I know normally I just read the article as I'm recording the video, but this time I decided to read ahead. And it's a good thing I did, because I would have felt rather foolish, much like John F. Trent should feel rather foolish for writing this nonsense. Because that's not what the actor said. I'll go ahead and read it for you, but let's take a look. Luke Dale, the actor who plays Hans Capone in Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, recently shared his opinion that if you are opposed to woke ideology, which is not even remotely what he said, in gaming, you are, quote, not necessarily into gaming. In an interview with the BBC alongside fellow actor Tom McKay, who plays Henry, blah, 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 had previously claimed that there were no black people in Bohemia while promoting the first game. Yes, until there was a traveling caravan that had a black dude in it. Does it make sense? Yes, ergo not woke. Perhaps, again, could Daniel Vavra have been convinced to figure out a way? Sure, possibly. But one of the things I've said before, and I will continue to say it, you might be surprised at how much nonsense gamers are able to tolerate, or will tolerate, if what you insert makes sense in the world. A different colored individual in a traveling caravan, perhaps of gypsies, would make sense because they don't actually live there. They're not from there. No, they weren't born there. And it's only one person. It's not an entire village. That doesn't make sense in Bohemia in 1403. Traveling caravan. But hey, make the decision for yourself. To be clear, Vavra wrote in 2015, would you please explain to me what's racist about telling the truth? This is when Vavra was attacked in the first game for the game not being inclusive enough. And sure, at the time, they made the game they wanted to make. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, he claims, again, despite being an absolute tit online and acting like a spoiled child because he got a 50 from one gaming store. Oh no, gaming store, gaming journalist website. Oh no. And something I missed on my last video criticizing this little child, claiming the poor scores, the bad scores are from bots. Make sure and go report these low scores for being bots. That's not how you act if you're a professional, Daniel. But even though I giggle a little bit when he went after John Delarose, that's not professional. I don't want any of the devs acting like that. And I think you're stupid for doing it, despite me getting a little chuckle out of it. I'll call it out how I see it. No black people in medieval Bohemia. Well, they changed their minds and they made it make sense. If it makes sense, I'll tolerate it. Does it take away from the game? I personally don't think so from what I've seen, because I haven't played the game. He also stated there were no non-white characters in Western Europe. Again, when was this done? 2015, and this one was, no date on it. Furthermore, Warhorse Studios Christian previously noted that Henry was not a homosexual. Now, if your problem is not necessarily gay romance in the game, but you take issue with, well, two best friends, suddenly one of them's got to be gay because two men can't be friends, and suddenly Sam and Frodo just got the hots for sexuality for each other. If that's your issue, I can understand that completely, and I'm not going to tell you anything, not going to say anything otherwise. But represent your argument properly, please. Don't claim that based on who the character was based on, these are children. Oh, heavens to be. No, they aged him up for the game. They aged him up for the game. It was kind of obvious. And, if they didn't, it's kind of get in touch with the authorities. Yeah. But nobody did. I promise you. All these websites spouting on about my child CP and all this other stuff, running their mouths on social media only. If you were so confident in this idea, if you were just so absolutely confident in your statements, why didn't you get in touch with the proper authorities? Because you knew you were wrong. You knew you were grifting. You knew you were engagement farming, rage baiting. That's it. But again, if you have a problem with them making Hans homosexual romance because of how he was in the first game, sure, your argument is valid. But hey, optional, not optional, make the decision for yourself, ladies and gentlemen, and vote with your wallet. Nevertheless, Dale informed the BBC. Here's where the quote starts, ladies and gentlemen. I want you to pay very close attention to what Dale says. I think it's quite an interesting thing that's happened. With the first game, there was backlash from a more left-wing mentality with the lack of diversity. And then there's been something of a backlash, this time around, from the right-wing mentality. The religious Puritans, my good man. Not the right wing. Well, I guess you could say right wing. The religious right. McKay then indicated that no one has discussed these topics to him in person because they wouldn't dare do that. And also possibly because on the press tours that they, the questions are. I mean, should we assume that just like any other interview that the questions are vetted? Wouldn't put it past them. It's a really good barometer of the distortion between online interaction and real world interaction. He's not entirely incorrect there. We did 9 hours and it didn't come up once, mostly because someone that's doing an interview with you is a fan of the game and is interested in the game. From there, Dale indicated that if you oppose woke ideology, you are putting words in this man's mouth, John. How dare you? Shame on you. But it's to the point where what should I expect? From someone who's interested in censorship being good because of your personal values. Censorship is bad. Woke ideology injected into the game via the promotion of misogyny. I hope your wife doesn't go. Anyway, sorry, that was crude, but I'm a crude individual and I don't care anymore. Sodomy covers oral sex, my dude. Okay? Doesn't just cover backdoor business. As well as Musa of Mali. Yes, Musa. Musa, that's this guy. That's the traveling salesman in the caravan. Okay. He doesn't actually live there. He wasn't born there. From another country. Whatever. He said, quote, I think, to be honest with you, the people that are true big fans of gaming and this game aren't bothered about that sort of stuff. And obviously, with the numbers on the game, he would be absolutely correct. Breaking 200, I think either breaking or coming close to breaking 250,000 concurrent players over the weekend. It started off as what, 135,000, 140, 150, and just kept going up and up and up every single day, reaching a new peak concurrent player count every single day until topping out at over 250,000 players. So yes, this statement right here, fan of gaming, that's a broad stroke, but fans of the game, yes, they're not bothered by this sort of so-called woke nonsense. The quote continues, it seems to be people that are really politically involved, pay attention, really politically involved, and they care very much about politics and not gaming, and they're just used this as a weapon, but they're not necessarily into gaming. Did he say anything about wokety woke? No, he did not. And I do believe he was referring to both sides of the ideological pendulum, both the left and the right. Not saying anything about, if you don't like woke, then you're just not really into gaming. That's not even remotely what he said. Or it is quite possible that there are a significant number of people who are interested in gaming that want nothing to do with woke ideology. Yes, but they don't consider this game being filled with woke ideology because it's fun, it's interesting, and the stuff that's inserted makes sense. The unfortunate part is John F. Trent, John De La Rose, George Torch, y'all are all completely and totally wrong because the numbers don't lie. Something Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 pushes in its game and its marketing. Really? The only thing that was pushed was this video by IGN. Are we really going to push IGN as a I don't know, integral part of marketing, they were probably chomping at the bit, looking at all the discussion online with the Saudi leak, the Saudi gaming website leak about the relationship, and just couldn't wait to get this article out, this video out. Some people even say it's epic level trolling. To which, of course, Daniel Vavra responds with, "Don't buy the game. Please don't do that, developers. Don't tell people not to buy your game." Okay. Regardless of how well it does, it's going to have an effect. People don't like that. It's rhetoric. Kelly Sudaconic. I can't stand that woman. I'm not even going to show her face. This idea that an article from IGN, a video from IGN on, how to romance Hans, that was their very first article, video on Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 at release. The first one. What do you expect? It's IGN. We don't really hold them in high regard. It's not the gamers who decided to put sodomy in the game. Hey, it's optional. They didn't put it in there. You choose that yourself. But why is it in the game? Daniel Vavra, the developers, decided to put it in there to give players an option. Did it take away from the game? I don't see it taking away from the game. If you don't like it, that's fine. But constantly droning on and on and on and misrepresenting what this man said, really politically involved. He did not say woke. He did not say anti-woke. And as a matter of fact, again, like I said, in the beginning, they got backlash from the left wing and they're getting backlash from the right wing mentality. He's going after both sides. You're misrepresenting his statement 100%. Obviously, you shouldn't do that. Integrity is the only currency a journalist has, a content creator has, my dumbass has. And when you tarnish it, it doesn't go away. But again, like I've said, I'm going to link the article because read it for yourself. It got to the point where Daniel Vavra had to come out and make a definitive statement. There are no children in the game. To be forced to do that because people could not, I don't know, think for themselves. The mentality that there was any sort of CP in this game because the character was based on a real-life person, that sort of mentality you should have gone after the first season of Game of Thrones, because Daenerys Targaryen is, what, 12, 13, 14, I believe 14 or 15 years old in the books. Well, obviously, they aged her up for the show because of all the sexy time. So why are we not even contemplating that consideration for a video game? Think for yourselves. Stop falling for rage bait, engagement farming, clickbait titles. It's something, it is a skill to train. Work on it. Don't let your emotions take control. And think. But let me know what you think in the comments section down below, and I'm sure you'll let me know what you think in the subscriber count. I appreciate you making it this far. I hope to see you on the next one.